Hmm? No. No. Sounds like a cue. Good evening, everybody. Thank you. Welcome to the November full board meeting for Manhattan Community Board 4. My name is Chait LeFrancois. I'm the chair of the board, and I'm delighted to call the meeting the evening this order here in Hell's Kitchen. And I'd be remiss if I did not note that our last full board meeting that took place in person in Hell's Kitchen was March 4th, 2020 at the, I think was still called Roosevelt Hospital, not even Mount Sinai West back then. And so it's really nice to be back in person in Hell's Kitchen for a full board meeting. So I just had to sort of call that out. Tonight our meeting is hybrid. There are folks participating on Zoom as well as here in person. We'll do our best to manage that. Just a couple of bits of housekeeping. There's only one camera. It's on this side. We will be using 2 microphones. This is where public session will take place from. Any comments from the public board members. There's also a microphone on that side of the room for when time comes to have questions or back and forth to make sure that folks online can hear the conversations that's being had amongst the board members. We're going to be having our presentation and discussion on the board's statement of district needs run by our second vice chair, Leslie Bogosian Murphy. She'll talk us through that a bit later. And then our first vice chair, Jessica Chait, will be running us through the public session. So do we have Midtown North here, Mr. District Manager? Leslie, if they're not here, I'm going to jump to you. Is that all right? Oh my God. Okay. We are waiting on Midtown North. So with that, I want to go to the next item on our agenda and give it over to Leslie to talk us through our statement of district needs and the annual budget process. Leslie?
Is it? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. So first we're going to do our public hearing, right, Jesse? So this is a public hearing on our statement of district needs, which is where we identify the needs of our district brought to us by both members of the community and through our various committees. We prioritize those needs in their respective groups and submit this list with explanation to the city and the relevant agencies. This is the responsibility of the budget task force, as Jeffrey said, which I chair as second vice chair. And it creates this document with input from all members through committee. Most of the asks have come out of committee or task force with a vote in a letter, just to explain that, or we have been in direct contact with a corresponding agency, working with them to identify needs in the district. The result is the request you see in the statement of district needs. This will be discussed and voted on later tonight by full board. So you will find 3 main documents. We're going to do the full presentation right now for the public, because it is part of the public hearing. And then when we get to full board, you already have seen the presentation, and then we can talk about it or make amendments or give your thoughts. So the first is, it's really into 3 sections. The first is the narrative for our district. It includes a breakdown of our demographics, trends we're seeing in the district, priorities and descriptions of what we identify as issues that of importance to us, and they're broken down in maybe categories kind of along the lines of committee, sometimes not, but along those lines. For example, in the past few years, we have highlighted and described COVID-related issues, and that was a big part of our narrative. This year, as we're starting to drift away from COVID-specific issues, that was diminished language, and we highlighted current trends we're finding ourselves in, such as increased migrant population, e-bikes and mopeds, those kind of issues. Cannabis pop-up shops, that was incorporated this year. So we really try and identify what's going on the ground and marry it to our overall concerns. And that's how we have these narratives and our priority list. The second thing in your Dropbox, and when I say Dropbox, I'm talking now to the board, is going to be an expense request list. And the third is the capital request list. I guess, Jesse, we can go to slide number 1. This is a slide presentation show as well. Like previous years, we sent out a survey to the general public and people that work and live in the district, asking people what is important to them, and as a community board representing them, what we should concentrate on. So where is it? We had about, what was it, about 300, a little over 300 responses. And the results, I don't know if this is surprising or not to anyone, but the results were, nope, no worries. The results, though, were similar to last year. There was a very heavy concern, especially as a number 1 priority on public safety. So that was by far the number 1 concern. More than 1 in 3 people cited public safety as the number 1 issue in the district that we should be concentrating on, or is that's of concern to them. And specifically, if you read, they also have comments. More cops, greater presence in general, more funding for foot patrol, which kind of, I guess, goes in line to what this board has been asking for the last few years. And also similar to last year. Oh, there it is. So orange would be, yep, orange is the public safety. And if you see the blue to the left of that, second, same as last year, is affordable housing, which also pretty much is in line to what our board's priorities are as well in committee and also at full board. I do want to, let's see. Let's go to the second slide, because this is, I think, interesting too. So this is what we did. We compiled the first, second, and third main points of concern to people. So out of 1, 2, and 3, crime and public safety is still number 1. And then it switches from affordable housing to quality of life. So if you group 1, 2, and 3 together from the public, quality of life is the second most important thing to them. And the third is affordable housing, which again is very similar or almost identical to what we saw last year. But I do want to make one note. I think it's, which one is, I can't see. So if you look at if you see the pink right there, so you'll see the 4 bars on the left and then that pink, the hot pink one there. So that's trash and cleanliness, which as a board and our statement of district needs, we usually combine with quality of life. So if you combine that light blue, which is quality of life, and the pink, you'll see people are really, really concerned with things that are going on in the street, their quality of life, their cleanliness. And we reflected that also, not only in our narratives for the statement of district needs, but also our priority list. But just to be clear, we do take what the public says very seriously, and we include it in our discussions. But we also take a very holistic approach, because the board obviously looks at many different things, and we look at it in many different ways. And I want to give one example of that. I think it's the orange bar all the way on the right. I think that's it. Or maybe it's the blue one. Towards the end is education. So when the public filled out this survey, education was not 1, 2, or 3 or really a great priority to them at all, right? So that tells us one of a few things. Either we're not getting our survey out to the right people or to a broader representation of the district. But when we come, as the budget task force comes together, we obviously know that education is a priority, and we put that in our statement of district needs as such. And we know it's connected to migrants. We know, as an example, like there are a lot of new migrant populations that are coming into our schools. So that has to be addressed. So it's kind of a nice balance, I think, that our budget task force has with identifying the priorities of the district and the people and what the community board has been seeing throughout the year. Let's go to the wins, Jesse, because that's always a fun slide. So these are our wins. And this is actually pretty good wins this year. Organics collection. That's something that we have been harping on and writing about for a very long time. I don't know if any of you, and I'm not just talking to the board, but I'm also talking to the public in general, have seen the orange bins on a lot of the street corners. That was just implemented this year, and that is an organic collection. We weren't even expecting that in our district, but we have it, which is wonderful. The study for containerization of trash. We also got a big win, the landmarking and funds for the former colored school number 4, ADA ramps along Dyer Avenue. We asked to bring so if you see the last one, well, in the first little grouping there, bring our family shelters back. We asked for that specifically because during COVID, we saw a lot of our family shelters getting taken away for single men shelters, because during COVID, there was a great need to house these single men separately. So we asked if we can have our family shelters back. We saw a big disruption in the neighborhood. We saw a big disruption in schools, and we didn't get one family shelter. We actually got 2. So we're back to level on that. And of course, housing, the slaughterhouse site and Bayview Correctional Facility for supportive housing are very, very big wins, and we're counting them as such. So if you look at our wins, it's actually pretty good across the board of a lot of our committees. We hit on environment, we hit on housing, we hit on transportation. So I think that's a good indication of the work that we're doing and what we're prioritizing. And then the list. So I guess if you go to the capital and expense list, you'll see, and I'm speaking to the board as well here, you'll see that we front loaded on affordable housing. So there's a lot of affordable housing, the preservation of affordable housing stock issues. We also took into account what are gettable, like what we think we can have a win with this year. That was also taken into account. And as I mentioned before, if you noticed this year, we included an new asks connected to illegal cannabis shops and enforcement of e-bikes and motorized bikes, which is a great example of what we've been hearing throughout the year, throughout our committees and at full board, but also what we're hearing in general and through our public survey. So I want to open it up now to the public. If there's anyone in the public for this public hearing to speak on our statement of district needs, I guess now would be a great time.
I believe I have 3 people who had signed up. I'll bring them over.
Great. Who is first, Justin?
Carla is first.
Carla, can you hear me? I can see you were brought over, Carla. Can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, we wanted to just give some updates about our community relations department at Ryan Chelsea Clinton. We'll be having our toy a holiday toy giveaway party just on December 15th. Just wanted to share with the community. This is for children, and they're gonna have a Christmas gift, and from 3 to 6 p.m. over 1,000 of toys were purchased for this toy giveaway party. And yeah, just wanted to put it out there for the community, Midtown, and anyone is welcome to come for the party. We're gonna have a Santa Claus, and I'm very happy and excited about it.
Thank you, Carla. And if you want, you can also contact the district office.
Yes, thank you so
Okay.
much. I'm gonna send a flyer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone, Jesse, for the statement of district needs?
We have Miriam Fisher.
Sure. Miriam? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hi, Miriam. Go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
I was reading can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Letter, I think 18, which says, developing coherent, accessible transportation. The meeting, oh, wait, my phone is ringing. I'm going in the other room so it doesn't interfere. The meeting on the subway elevators that we talked about is until November 15th. Is there any way of putting that on the list or being more specific about accessible, including evaluation of possibility of elevators in the subway?
So Miriam, I remember you brought this up before and it was taken very seriously, and we talked about it at Budget Task Force, and I believe it's going on a future agenda item for transportation. They're nodding at me, so I think I'm correct in saying that you were definitely heard, and the transportation committee is going to put it on as a future agenda item. So for the statement of district needs, I think I mentioned this in the introduction. We usually, or we do go from letters that have been written over the past year and votes that have been taken already, and that's what we incorporate in our asks. So it's very difficult for us to ask something that hasn't gone through committee and full board, but we very much expect, obviously it'll go through committee, at least for discussion. So we expect that topic is going to be brought up sooner rather than later.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify my understanding of how district needs is incorporate some of these things. I understand it's for a future discussion. That's all I was really asking.
Oh, then you got it.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Done.
Is there anyone else, Jesse, or that's it for public hearing?
I believe, Smita and what brought over.
I'm sorry, who?
I'm sorry. So meet her name's Smita.
Smita? Can you hear me? Smita? Oh, yes.
Hi, is it Samiksha?
Oh, yes, we could hear you.
Actually, I do not have anything to say. I'm just here to attend the meeting.
Okay, no, absolutely. Thank you for coming.
And we're done.
And we're done. Okay. So with that, we will close the public hearing, but as I said, this will be brought up in board business where the board will, I guess, discuss and vote. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Leslie. Jumping back on our agenda, actually, we have the captain, the CO, I'm not sure who from Midtown North, just up the street to join us this evening and give some updates from right in the neighborhood.
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for being here.
Not a problem at all. So it was nice to be able to get the opportunity to see that feedback you were getting in that presentation. So that's obviously very helpful for me. You know, it's one of those things, and regardless, I could spout crime statistics that show we're actually down significantly in crime in the area. Actually, we're down 13%. Overall, we are the 5th best command in all New York City in crime reduction as opposed to 2022. But that doesn't mean anything if the perception is that we're not safe, if the perception is that it's dangerous out there. So spouting crime statistics isn't really what a meeting like this is about. It's about how can I help with the perception? How can I do a better job to make people feel more comfortable as they're walking around the neighborhood on their way to work or kids going to school? So that was really good information for me to see and help my office really understand how they should be deployed. One thing we're constantly hearing every time I have a meeting, I've been a commanding officer now going on 7 years. And every time I have a meeting, it's always we need to get the cops out of the car on foot. And that's something we try to beat down best we can. No, you can't police behind the window. You know, you have to be out there really speaking to your residents, your business owners and the kids and developing these relationships. That's what policing has always been about. You know, some of you that may know me, I'm actually a 3rd-generation police officer. I can remember listening to my dad and his partners talking about policing in the 80s. And, you know, it was all about just communicating, really just understanding what your community wants, how they want to be policed. And if you're not accessible, you know, to them to really understand how they want to be policed, you're going to miss it all day long. So that's how I preach to my officers what we need to do. It sounds simple, it sounds basic, but then you just run up against the fact that they're chasing that radio. They're busy responding to radio runs that, you know, trying to afford the opportunity for them to get off the radio and get out of the car and walk around is a difficult task. We do have some rookie officers. When you're assigned to the command, keep you about a year on foot. So you see 8th Avenue is typically flooded with our uniformed rookies. They're out there on foot. We try to spread them into the side streets to get them a little more comfortable on the blocks and hopefully interacting a little bit more. But the message to get the cops out on foot is definitely heard. We try to do it. Your NCOs, your YCOs, those are your neighborhood coordination officers and the youth coordination officers. We assign them on foot as much as possible. Their goal is really to develop those relationships in and around the schools and around the community. So that's something I'm constantly pushing and trying to help us develop those relationships, because you know, a neighborhood like Hell's Kitchen, the Midtown North Precinct is so special because you can't police Park Avenue and Fifth Avenue the same way you police 10th Avenue. You can't do it. You can't send cops there with this umbrella way of idea of how to police. You really have to police those areas so much differently. It's such more of an intimate need to police on 10th Avenue in the 40s than you do on Fifth Avenue. So it's really intelligence driven. So that's why these meetings are also so important for us to really get an understanding specifically what you're seeing, who you're seeing, when you're seeing it. And that just helps me with my deployment. So meetings like this help me gather the intelligence I can disseminate to our officers, to the supervisors, and make sure we're deploying appropriately. So if I don't get the opportunity to really hear you today, please put my email in the chat. I'm available to you 24/7. My email is john.o'connell2@nypd.org. Please feel free to email me anytime. I check my phone throughout the day and night. I will get back to you within an hour. I guarantee it. I will never miss an email. You can also reach me on my office phone number. That's 212-767-8413. If you ever have a frustration or something's not going right, you need immediate help, obviously outside of calling 911, please feel free to utilize either one of those options to get in touch with me, and let's try to get you the help or the answers that you're looking for. But I could yield to anyone that has any questions or concerns. I'm happy to answer them. I am over at an Israeli demonstration. Obviously, we're seeing a ton of them in the recent times. So if I click off relatively fast, it's only because I just have to make sure I'm addressing my current assignment out here.
That's fine. Thank you, Deputy Inspector. We would entertain 2 questions if any board member. Katie, you have a question? Happy to repeat it.
Presentation, and it's such great news that you're talking.
He can't hear you. So either you come to a mic or you give it short and I can repeat it for you. It was working.
Okay. Oh, look, we're figuring things out. Thank you so much for that great information. One of the things we've heard a lot about from the community over the years is the importance of seeing the officers out on the street, as you said, the importance of accessibility and foot patrols. And as you said, you're trying to get them out there as much as possible, which is such great news. And I think it would be lovely if you can provide for us so we can celebrate for you, like a percentage increase. Like, are they on foot patrols, whatever, 10% more now than they were before or something? But any information you could share about that would be great. And we really do want to work with everybody who covers our community about getting the officers more visible and just on foot more to get to know the people in our community. So we'd love to work with you more on that too. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I wouldn't know how specific it is. There's a way that we try to keep track of what we call directed patrol, community patrol. We have it over the radio. It's called the 75 directed. We do keep track of how many of those the officers are doing, and they are compared to last year. I don't know if I'd be able to say it's very, very accurate in it. I'm trying to look it up real quick on my phone. So it's a weekly report that we get that shows the directed patrols and out of the car patrols we are doing. It's not trending in the right direction. Obviously, it's it's a busier time and we're down a few officers, so it's not trending in the right direction, but it is something we evaluate and see where we can interject it and try to increase it. Our goal is 2 hours per tour for every car. So if we put out a car, we expect you, or we ask that you do 2 hours of your time directed towards getting out of the car, walking around, addressing community occurrence within the sector you're assigned to. We don't hit that goal very often. I'm going to be quite frank with you. We try to minimally get an hour out of them if they could do it. And that's just really trying to be in an area walking around. So our goals, the actual goal they have is 2 hours. Our reality is to try to get them at least an hour out of the car walking around. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy Inspector. Appreciate the updates today, and thank you for joining us, and stay safe on your tour. Thank you. Oh, wait, one more question, actually. Sorry, Ted.
No problem.
I
usually have a question, but I wanted to just bring something that happened in my business. I about. And I also own a bar called the Red Stash. And before I went on vacation a couple of weeks ago, I had caught a pickpocketer that the people have been looking for a while. And what ended up happening was we called the police. They came, they were not interested in swiping his ID. He had stolen property on him, and they basically gave him a word of mouth warning to not come back to our place. They said because we didn't have a victim there, which we had one person crying that their objects were stolen, that they couldn't do anything about it. So what I did is I reached out to the people's items that we did find, and I went to the police station. We made the reports. Officer Spallone was there and was very, very helpful. And they ran the guy's information and he had a warrant out for his arrest. So if the police would have just taken the time to run the ID, we would have the case. So it's really lovely to hear about all these police patrolling, but if they're not actually going to be able to do anything about it, we need more enforcement. This week, encampment in front of my window with people shooting up heroin and cooking it on the street. I called 911, nobody showed up. I then reached out to Jesse and I reached out to the police department, and they said they would do what they could. I sent video footage of people shooting up heroin in front of the Red Stash, and basically I was told that there's nothing that they can do for people using illegal drugs on the street. And I asked them if they could just please come and check it out, and I was told that they didn't appreciate my sarcasm for trying to actually get some of these drugs off the street and trying to work with the community. So, I love to hear these stories about people patrolling the street, but there's not really any enforcement. So if there's something that we can do in the community to, change the laws for having people using illegal drugs in front of the businesses, or a little more help we can get without being enforcement ourselves as business owners in the community, I would love to hear what you would say about that and what we can do to work together in the community, because I'm not the enemy. I'm here working with people to try to protect my customers, and pretty much that's it.
Thank you, Ted.
Thank you very much, and I'm sorry those are your experiences. I caught most of it. Some of it was muffled, to be honest with you. The beginning incident I know about the officer responding to the possible pickpocketers inside the bar, right? I think that's what you're talking about. Fortunately, we had very good body camera on that. Fortunately, for multiple reasons. First thing that's important to me is I can kind of see how my officers handled an investigative situation. I was disappointed in that response. And that's being addressed consistently, being addressed with the original officers on scene and the supervisor that responded as well. That's one of the benefits of having body cameras. It gives us the opportunity to really evaluate how our officers are doing out there. The second value to that body camera is the officers did hold up that individual's ID to the body camera. So the detectives were able to get that name and really got the investigation rolling and going in the right direction. But I do mirror your frustration of how that was originally handled. So again, thankfully, body camera helped us evaluate our response and give us a true perception of how that was handled. I heard a little bit about drugs in the area and the lack of enforcement. Obviously, drugs are a huge problem in Hell's Kitchen, in our parks, and we're trying to address it best we can. I can give you a quick summary of the enforcement that we have in the 28-day period. Just patrol alone has made a 25% increase in arrests, 185 arrests versus 149 from last year in the last 28 days. Year to date, we have a 30% increase in arrests, 1,772 versus 1,361 from last year. If you have a two-year comparison, we're up 82% in overall arrests year to date. Specific to summonses, criminal summonses, and oath summonses, we have 228 criminal court summonses issued in the last 28 days and 183 oath summonses issued in the last 28 days. Year to date, criminal court summonses, we have 2,171 criminal court summonses. We are up 163% in criminal court summonses versus last year, same period to date. Oath summonses, we have issued 2,434, up 81% compared to last year, year to date. So our enforcement is through the roof. Our arrests are way up. Our crime is way down. But obviously, we're not doing the impact that you're looking for. Hopefully, you took down my email as I gave it out. If not, again, it's john.o'connell2@nypd.org. Feel free to send me an email and we could set up a meeting and just kind of go over specifically what you're seeing at your location and try to come up with a plan that you're comfortable with, that we're addressing your concerns.
Thank you, Deputy Inspector. Appreciate your time tonight.
No problem. Thank you for the time.
Sure thing. Moving on to the next item in our agenda is our public session to be run by our first vice chair, Jessica Chait. Jessica? I think just turn that off.
You guys hear me? There we go. Good evening, everyone. And as Jeffrey said, we'll begin our public session this evening. This is an opportunity to hear directly from the public. We've asked that you sign up in advance or at the beginning of the meeting. We give everyone 2 minutes to speak, and we ask that you respect that timeline. You'll hear the buzzer into the mic. We're going to call everyone up to the podium there so that on the camera, everyone who is joining us by Zoom can see you. So we'll start this evening with Brendan Keeney, and it'll be followed by Charlie DeLuke. Do we have those folks? I don't have a way to know who's virtual or.
Okay.
Do you want to do? Okay. Well, we know Alexa Cruz is here, so we could start with Alexa, followed by Salinas Miranda, and then Jackie Lara. You had an opportunity to sign up and didn't, so the Alexa Cruz, are you with us? You can come up to the podium. And followed by Alexis is Salinas. So Salinas, if you want to come up to the mic. And then Jackie, you can come up also.
Hi, board members. This is me again, Alexa. I'm gonna keep coming back and I'm gonna keep asking for NYCHA Section 9, no demolition, because we cannot stay with Section 8 and RADPAD because RADPAD is private and Section 8 is up to 20 years that they'll hold the affordable rents, and then after 20 years, maybe we won't have an apartment, we won't have anywhere to go. And my fear is that I will lose my home completely. You know, oh my God, what's going on? Caesar.
Sorry, Alexa, just 1 minute. We want to hear you. So just.
Yeah. Like I said.
Alexa, if you just wait 1 second, because everyone will want to hear you and. Okay, Alexa, if you want to actually start from the top, we do want to be able to hear you.
The reason why I'm here is for NYCHA, and I want Section 9, and I want it to stay as it is because RADPAD is not good for me, and RADPAD is for private developers, and you know the regular landlords, they charge a lot of rent, and once they switch over to RADPAD, they're going to start charging a lot of rent that nobody that has low income will be able to live in the apartments of neither of the boroughs of New York. And I'm afraid of that. And I ask that we keep our Section 9 and that we keep our buildings. I asked Simone to take it to consideration for us. You know, we are poor, we're not rich, we don't make a lot of money. We don't make a lot of money. So I worked all my life and I had to struggle. And I'm still struggling and I'm still afraid that I might wind up homeless. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexa. Salinas? Go ahead, thank you.
So this is pertaining to the Fulton Elliott Chelsea buildings. Salinas Miranda. Are we speaking in vain? Is all this just a show? How come FEC tenants telling us this is a done deal? There's nothing you can do. How come Miguel Acevedo tells his tenants that demolition is moving forward and even gives dates at his TA meetings? At the town hall meeting, the same thing. All of the elected officials claiming that our buildings are deteriorating and that we will get new buildings. Mainstream media, same thing. The only place it said that it's only a proposal is here at the CB4 meetings. HOU making their way into people's apartment, telling the tenants that they will be engaged throughout the process, like assisting with moving expenses and other such matters. How is everyone so sure that this plan will be approved? City councils are the ones making the final decision. Eric Botcher already have his mind made up. He's set on his decision. He's taken all the information that NYCHA and Related told him, but he has not heard the voice of the people, of the tenants. Our questions were not read at the town hall meeting, and I made my voice heard. There was no care for what I had to say. When the meeting ended, he ran off. He did not stay to listen to our voices. These city officials are not here to service us. They are here to service the interests of corporations. They are in office for their own personal gain and benefit. Please, someone, hear our voices. 70% did not vote because they don't want to be privatized, much less have their homes destroyed by people who pretend to care. No demolition, no privatization.
Thank you, Salinas. Jackie?
Oh, yeah. Good to see you too. Hi, Jacqueline Lara from Fulton. Guys, I don't even know what to say anymore because we're dealing with a beast that has billions of dollars. And I guess a lot of hands are getting greased up by that money. So all I can say is that we want to save public housing. We want to save our buildings. We don't want demolition. Number two, this is for a board member here, Hector Vasquez. Don't take it personal, Hector, but you're saying our building is deplorable. I've been living there. My daughter learned how to crawl, walk. You just got in 2019 when de Blasio and administration neglected Fulton. So you just got there like 4 years ago. So please stop saying our buildings are deplorable. You don't have no fond memories of Fulton. I do. All right, so cut it out already. Thank you.
We're gonna go online to Brendan Keeney. Okay, and then Charlie DeLuke. Great, and then that'll be followed by Lisa.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, Charlie, go ahead.
Hi, Charlie Dulick here, Director of Organizing at Housing Conservation Coordinators. I am here to just quickly plug our 18th annual West Side Tenant Conference, Saturday, December 2nd. It'll be an all-day affair, 9:30 to 4 at Fordham Law, 150 West 62nd. We will have a ton of information, resources, and panels for tenants. There will be panels on, the upcoming fight for tenants' rights in Albany, tips organizing your building, how different legal paths to winning repairs, the fight against Airbnb and the new implementation of Local 18, HUD 101, immigration issues, and older adult issues. Like I said, there will be a lot of resources there. Hear from a lot of local elected officials. It'll be a great time, all for free. All you have to do is RSVP. There's a link at bit.ly/ and then all capitals WSTC 2023. So bit.ly/WSTC 2023, or you can call our office, get in touch anyway, and to get the information, but we'd hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. We're going to go to Lisa Wager, followed by Bobby.
You can hear me?
We can, Lisa.
Okay. Hi, I'm Lisa Wager, Director of Government Community Relations at the Fashion Institute of Technology at the SUNY College on West 27th Street, and I'm here to share a few FIT updates. Each year, oh, by the way, Jesse, I sent you something, an email, maybe you can throw it into the chat at the end of this. Each year, the Council of Fashion Designers of America, the CFDA, awards a handful of highly competitive scholarships to undergraduate and graduate students at institutions across the country, based on sketches and accompanying details for a fashion collection. Since 1996, the organization has given out 365 scholarships worth a total of $3.7 million. This year, 3 of the 13 winners were FIT fashion design students in the class of 24, i.e. they won these as 7th semester students. Brian Hanulian won a CFDA Crystal Bridges Heartland Scholar Award, which came with a $25,000 scholarship. He's from Wisconsin, and since he came to FIT, he's interned at Oscar de la Renta and J. Crew. He's already launched his own line, and of course, he now lives in New York City. And Galatan Choppa was named an Amex Scholar and awarded $25,000. She's from Texas, and since she came to FIT, she's interned at Express, Dion Lee. She's now senior fashion buyer at Beacon's Closet while she attends FIT full-time. She lives in Brooklyn now. Cassius Reed was named the Versace Scholar. He received $30,000. He's from Brooklyn and now lives in CB4, and he'll be using the money to launch his own line. So you see super talented young people come to FIT from across the country, gain the education and experience they need, and launch their careers here in New York City. We are a brain gain institution for New York, and I haven't mentioned this time that we're public. On another celebratory note, this year is the 10th anniversary of Chalk FIT, the wildly colorful chalk murals drawn on the walls of our 7th Avenue buildings from 28th to 26th Street. This year, 91 illustration BFA seniors did the work, and it's an especially terrific year. Thank you, Tina. Stroll by and bring your out-of-town friends for a real only in New York selfie. Thank you, and enjoy temporary sunshine.
Thank you, Lisa. We're going to go to Bobby Vangelatos.
Good evening, everyone. Bobby Vangelatos here from the Chelsea Recreation Center. Just wanted to talk about a few events and some of the current programming we have. Next Friday, November 10th, from 6 to 7:30 p.m., we're doing glow-in-the-dark pickleball. So pickleball is great in the daytime, but it's even better in the dark and neon lights. So that's going to be next Friday. Call us if you have any questions about that. I just wanted to highlight some of our youth programming and teen programming. We do have Zumbini twice a week. It's basically Zumba for toddlers. We have a Saturday Night Lights youth soccer program, which we're doing at Chelsea Park every Saturday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Also on Saturdays from 4 to 5:30, we're doing teen-guided painting. So any teenagers interested in learning how to paint or improving their skills, they can come to us and we can assist them with that. And also, we also have youth crochet twice a week. If you have any interest in those programs or any other of our programs, please give us a call and we'll be more than happy to help you out. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Bobby. We're going to do one. I'm sorry, Jesse, who was it? One more person online that we're going to bring over, and then we will go back to the public in session. There were 4 people who had signed up and the sheet got lost in translation, so we will come back to it. Jesse, who was it? Michael. Great. Go ahead, Michael. Your 2 minutes.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Great. Just to echo Leslie's point, I think it's useful to contextualize the survey respondents, age, demographics, where they live in the community board, are they working in the community board, are they on the board? In terms of safety, I think it's also useful to contextualize what does safety mean. Safety means different things for different people. When I think of safety, I don't think about more police. I think about less cars on the street. I think about crossing the street and seeing children ride their bike on the avenue. I think about less traffic deaths. We're seeing the highest rates of traffic violence since the implementation of Vision Zero. When I think about safety, I think about more safe use facilities. I actually think about creating facilities that people who use drugs can use them safely. I think about implementing easier licensing for recreational marijuana. When I think about safety, when I think about theft, I think about wage theft. I think about the businesses, the corporations who don't pay their employees fair wages. I am really proud to see the progress of the 10th Avenue bike lane, and I'm really proud to see the progress of the Transportations Committee's efforts to provide more safe streets in terms of pedestrians. I'm really excited to see the work that DOT is doing, even though I feel like they have their hands tied by this administration. But yes, I would like to see more representation of the survey, who's responding and how many people. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Your comments are noted and we can be in touch. As mentioned, we're going to go back to folks in public. We're going to ask that you come up to the mic. We're going to start with Nilda Perez, followed by Alexis.
What about things our goal? Yeah, I know you love. Good morning.
Go ahead, Nilda. Thank you. And Alexis, if you want to come up, as you'll be next.
Sorry. Hi.
Please start.
I will just give me a second. I'm sorry. All right.
It's okay. It's okay. All right. I'm going to speak. Nilda, just go ahead and wait 1 second.
Should just.
Nilda, go ahead.
Hi. Recently I went to see a movie about what the related company had done in Miami-Dade County called Raising Liberty. And so what they did was they demolished an entire public housing neighborhood in Miami. Okay, and that's exactly.
Don't interrupt the speaker, is not your role.
But the same related company did a demolition in the public housing in Liberty Square. They promised those people that they wouldn't be displaced and was able to get the community to agree to give up their land for mixed housing. So all of those people in Liberty Square were supposed to, those apartments were demolished in sections and it was supposed to be done already. They still haven't finished their entire project in Miami-Dade County and Liberty Square. The related company actually convinced people that they were gonna move back into those houses, into those apartment spaces, and they weren't allowed to move. They were like, well, we don't have a space for you here, so how about you take a Section 8 voucher? 5 people, five apartments were allowed to return to those buildings. So when you're telling us that we're not gonna be displaced, I would like to see the evidence in that. Those people are actually, yes, they do have a tenant association. And during watching that movie, I did speak to the director of the film. The director still goes over there frequently to speak to those people. And they have, all of their stuff is falling apart. They actually only have showers. They don't have bathtubs. These are things and these are rights of the tenants that, you know, we shouldn't have taken away. The tenant association, like you want community representation, right, is run by related employees. So we need to really understand that there's more things that need to be explained to the tenants and we don't need to be privatized.
Thank you, Nilda. Alexis? Is Alexis here? Okay, then we're going to go to Joyce Wilcox, followed by Ramiro Morales. And Ramiro, if you want to come up behind Joyce, that'll be great.
Hi, I'm Joyce Wilcox from Penn South. Those of us in the neighborhood were very disturbed when we heard that all the NYCHA campuses would be totally demolished. Why? Those are some of the newest buildings in all of NYCHA. They're newer than where I live, Penn South, and we just do fine with repairs. There should be, at the very least, an independent study on the structure of those buildings to see what's going on with this. Also, you know, as Nelda has pointed out, and the Legal Aid Society has pointed out, when you demolish like this, NYCHA buildings, the tenants don't return. And the tenants in NYCHA should be able to enjoy Chelsea. They built it. Also, there's going to be built 3,500 mostly market rate units. That's going to completely change the character of Chelsea and make it an enclave for the rich. Additionally, I don't pay market rate. They're going to go after Penn South next, the real estate agents, and other people in Chelsea who don't pay market rate. So please, do not go along with this demolition. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. Ramiro, welcome. And when you're ready, your 2 minutes will start.
Hello, my name is Ramiro Morales. I'm at 419 17th Street, foreign houses. And I'm with the conversion of the new development. And the reason is why I've been having an issue since February 3rd, 2023. There has not been any hot water, and these are my tickets to prove that I've been submitting tickets to the housing authority, and their answer to me is, you got to put in the ticket. I put in the ticket. Next thing is, there's no pressure. The next thing is, there's no parts. The final answer that they gave me was that they out-contracted a subcontractor to do the job. And what happens, you got to wait 2 or 3 days before they show up and you get hot water. This weekend, there was no water at all. We finally got water yesterday and with very little pressure. I have videos of just a drop in my apartment. I understand they may not see a lot of tickets because a lot of tenants do not call. But I'm one that call all the time, and I have verification. This is 6 months of tickets. This is not including February through July. So I'm with the conversion, and hopefully, if they're not going to do the conversion, I would like somebody here to help me out to get this issue solved because nothing is being done. And second of all, there's a homeless man that goes into my building every single day, a young black guy, and he goes to every single floor and turns knobs. And nothing is being done about that either.
Thank you, Ramiro.
Thank you.
We will follow up on these issues. Thank you for coming. No, that's okay. Thank you. We'll follow up with you. This concludes our public session. I just want to remind all of our guests, some of who might be here for the first time, that we ask that you sign up in advance or right at the beginning of the meeting. We allow 15 minutes and then have to close the list to be able to manage the meeting for the rest of the evening. So please just, if you are inviting your friends to come with you, please encourage them to sign up in advance. Thank you. And back to you, Jeffrey.
Thank you, Jessica. Appreciate that. And thank you, everybody, for being here to participate and those online. Next up on our agenda are the reports from our elected officials, and live and in person, I'd like to call up Assembly Member Tony Simone. Hi.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Community Board 4. Happy to see you all in person tonight. Great evening to see you, not on Zoom, so you can actually hear each other. But I am for the hybrid model, just for the record. Anyway, last Saturday we had a town hall in Hartley House, which was well attended. We spoke about everything from public safety to casinos to the housing crisis to storm surge protection. We had a great conversation, and we'll be having many more of those, including talks with Tony soon in Chelsea, and also another event with our elected officials with all the agencies so we can help tackle the problems that everyone faces every day in person in the next few weeks. We'll also be back in Albany before we know it. So I'm here to hear your concerns and legislative priorities in Albany. A lot of ideas clearly come from the ground up. So, and I know how thoughtful And thought this Community Board 4 has been tackling the housing crisis and so many other issues, including our public safety and mental health crisis. So I look forward to more conversations and ideas on how we can tackle it with legislation, street actions, and everything else in our toolbox. We're going to be having vaccine events. Winter is fast approaching. As you all know, we all need to stay healthy. My office will be hosting a flu vaccine drive in Hell's Kitchen on November 9th at Hartley House and in Chelsea on November 13th. Ben from my office has flyers in the back table with more details. Last week, we met with the NYPD and several agencies, and we did a walkthrough on the public safety issues facing West 42nd Street. We've got a lot of complaints from constituents and parents of the daycare center right near off of 9th Avenue, of a drama there with their security guard, with possible drug dealing and other issues. Thankfully, we worked with the community board and the Port Authority and Councilmember Eric Botcher's office and State Senator Granholm and Siegel. We got the scaffolding down. The security guard has been let go. We did a walkthrough with the Port Authority, DHS, Department of Social Services, Port Authority. We're going to be meeting again in a few weeks. How to figure out the drama that's happening in that corridor. We also discussed about taking action about other issues on the block, including on West 45th Street with the West 45th Street Block Association. We're having issues there with a dilapidated building and a terrible landlord, which Councilmember Eric Botcher has organized a bi-weekly meeting to ensure that they're following the rules and not harassing their tenants. I also recently sat down with the NYPD First Deputy Commissioner Tanya Kinsella to talk about the public safety concerns many of the organizations in the district have brought up, including Hell's Kitchen Neighbor Coalition, about the issues about needle use in the street. I know we're going to be meeting soon again. We're also meeting with some of the methadone clinics and social service providers to look at their contracts to figure out a way to make sure that they're bringing folks inside, making sure they have the space provided for the folks that need help, who are addicted, and trying to figure out new creative ways to make sure our streets are safe for everyone. I want to acknowledge Adira, who our new manager of constituent services and former CB4 member. She was honored last week at Housing Conservation Coordinators for her tremendous work in our office. She's often always helping tenants from NYCHA, from everywhere around the district. So we're so glad to have her on our team. She's been particularly focused lately on 421A tenants who are unsure of their future situation in light of the 421A expiration. We're telling folks don't self-evict. We're having numerous Zooms coming up, and we'll send the community board more information on that. On budget, when we departed Albany last year, it was all doom and gloom about fiscal projections for next year's fiscal budget. We've just recently heard estimates of large deficits and expected recession. We're now in a position as of late of continued economic growth, as many of you know. So much of the projected deficit has been cut in half and looks likely to further shrink. We hope could change, of course. With that kind of movement in the state's healthy financial reserves, we hope to be advocating the state to do more to alleviate the city's migrant crisis. We're also asking the federal government to chip in more money because the state and city cannot handle it alone. I'm a true believer that the migrant crisis will not destroy New York City. It's an opportunity we should take. We're looking at state laws, legislation to make sure we have work authorization for these folks so they can pay taxes, be good New Yorkers like everyone else. They came here from strife and from terrible conditions, looking for the American dream. And I personally support that. Second, and lastly, I want to continue to push stronger state action to address the housing crisis. I know Community Board 4 and many members have been a leader on this before I ran for office, so we'll be consulting with you throughout the process. We hope to go back to Albany and come up with an actual plan with the governor and the state senate to actually create middle class, working class housing, supportive housing. We have a lot of opportunities in this district. I know the plan CB4 has put forward is forward thinking, creative, but we cannot only do it in this district. We've talked to my colleagues. We've been meeting with many of the housing groups and tenant groups. We need tenant protections, but we have to look at ways to make sure we can't just do density in CB4. We need to look at transit-oriented development. We need to look at ADUs. We need to make sure that the rest of the state pitches in to solve the housing crisis. Simply put, creating culture of housing abundance means lower rents for all, We all took economics 101. We need to increase supply, but that's not the only solution. We have to make sure the existing tenants, existing folks who live in affordable housing are protected. In the last session, my colleague Ed Bronstein, Assembly Member Ed Bronstein, renewed J51, which helps folks at Penn South and throughout the state for co-op to defer maintenance costs. When we look at other creative legislation moving ahead, I'm meeting with Linda Rosenthal and the Black Hispanic Puerto Rican Asian Caucus, which I'm now a co-chair of the Housing Subcommittee, to figure out how we get the rest of the state to pitch in as well. That's the only way we're going to solve the housing crisis. Thank you for your time, and I don't know if I'm taking questions.
Thank you, Assembly Member. Is there anybody with a question for the Assembly Member?
Love it. Much easier crowd. Thank you.
I was going to say, you got spared. Good lucky. Thank you, Assembly Member, for being here. Appreciate that. Up next, we go to the squares online for Councilmember Eric Bacha. Eric?
Hey, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Happy November. It's really great to see you all. I'm going to start with something that I'm quite excited about because it's something that addresses a problem that we've been grappling with for quite some time, and that is the unlicensed illegal cannabis shops in our communities. Tomorrow at the City Council, Councilmember Keith Powers and I will be introducing City Council legislation that will be creating a new category of the nuisance abatement laws that will give the city the authority to padlock illegal cannabis shops. It'll also give the city the authority to padlock businesses that sell cannabis to people under the age of 21. The reason why this is important is because the current laws are not working. In April, the state passed a whole raft of additional laws, yet still today, we have over 8,000 unlicensed cannabis shops in our city. These shops deprive New Yorkers of the tax revenue. They pay no taxes. They provide the communities that have been adversely affected by the drug war over the years the revenue that they're supposed to be getting from the taxes. They undermine the ability of the legal cannabis licensees to even operate. And we've seen cannabis used by minors skyrocket, often being purchased before or after school at unlicensed cannabis shops located near schools. So we're going to be introducing this legislation tomorrow. I'm hoping that we can pass it by the end of the year. But if anything doesn't get passed by the end of the year, it has to get reintroduced because it's going to be a new city council starting in January. We passed a bill of mine 2 weeks ago relating to quote unquote ghost cars that have their license plates obscured. If we walked over to the Lincoln Tunnel now, we would see some folks with their license plates obscured. They're doing it to evade tolls. They're doing it to evade speed cameras, red light cameras, even the noise cameras that we've had put up. So our legislation will piggyback on things that have already happened this year. They've raised the fines. We're going to require the city to post quarterly how many people are doing this, where are they doing it, what time of the day are they doing it, what methods are they using? Because right now we do not have a firm grasp on this issue. It's just one of the things that we need to do to get a handle on this. The week before, we passed my legislation that will expand the tree canopy in New York City. And that's so much more than just aesthetic. The rains that we've been seeing, the flooding that we've been seeing. Yes, we have to rebuild our sewer systems. We have to rebuild all our drainage systems and do much more. But one thing we could also do to reduce flooding is plant trees all over New York. Trees and tree beds and expanded tree pits absorb rainwater. when you have a surface that is not porous at all, that's when the storm drains get overwhelmed. So my legislation will require the city to develop an urban forest master plan with a goal of achieving 30% tree coverage across New York City, 30% tree canopy coverage. It'll help with flood mitigation. It'll clean the air. It'll increase the quality of life in our neighborhoods. It'll provide habitats for birds and insects. And studies show that neighborhoods with trees have lower levels of gun violence and violence. So it's all around a great thing that we should be really embracing as a city. And it's the partner legislation by Gail Brewer will have required the city to consider tree coverage as a utility when making city planning decisions. So we need to consider trees as an essential part of New York City. On that vein, we are getting ready to cut the ribbon on 2 newly renovated parks, Chelsea Park down on 20th and 10th, and Hell's Kitchen Park with a new basketball court and handball court. My goal as a city council member is to renovate every park in Council District 3. We allocated in the last budget money to redo the comfort stations. They're calling them bathrooms again, or restrooms. We don't use comfort station. I guess we're back to calling them restrooms in Matthews Palmer Park. We are embarking on another round of participatory budgeting and to solicit your ideas for what to fund in next year's budget. And you'll get to vote on what to do in next year's budget. So please reach out to us to be part of participatory budgeting. We'll be sending out that information. And we've got a lot of events coming up. We have another paper shredding event on November 18th. I did a forum last week with Bridget Brennan, the special narcotics prosecutor for New York City. Over the course of an hour, we really got into the narcotics crisis in New York, what's causing it, what's being done to address it, what is the special prosecutor's role in that. I really urge you to watch it, to get a handle on what's happening out in the streets. I'm not going to talk for that much longer, but really appreciate the opportunity to be with you and really value Community Board 4's partnership on all these issues and many more.
Thank you, Councilmember. Appreciate it and appreciate the good work. Next up, we have Dr. Rosenberg from the Borough President's Office. Online.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight, and I hope everyone's doing well. First and foremost, I want to also address, I know that tensions are really high in New York City at the moment, and we are very concerned in the rise in anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, both in terms of incidents and in terms of rhetoric and hate speech. So we're really working with all the relevant agencies, the NYPD, the governor, in addressing that. Other than that, we're really happy to host veterans this afternoon at the Met in collaboration with Councilmember Powers and Representative Nadler to celebrate and honor them. So that was a great event. And then today, right now, the Borough President is hosting a live stream called Got to Go with Teddy Siegel, founder of the Got to Go Coalition. Borough President Levine, in partnership with Brooklyn Councilmember Rita Joseph, introduced Intro 258, which passed City Council this past year. There's still 2 City Council bills that the Borough President is promoting currently. Intro 1154 for long-term strategic planning to provide 1 bathroom per 2,000 residents by 2035. And the second is Intro 1096 to amend local law administrative code and make certain bathrooms and city facilities available for public use, like in municipal buildings, and make their locations public through a city website listing, which will go really far in increasing accessibility to public bathrooms in New York. We have this weekend coming up, our Manhattan Borough President's Office Day of Action. This Saturday from 12 to 3, we'll be hosting at 5 locations throughout the borough. We'll be hosting community cleanups. We're still welcoming those who are available and would like to join us. One of the locations will be the 9th Avenue corridor starting at 42nd Street. So if you'd like to sign up and join us, please email me at bracharosenberg@manhattanbp.nyc.gov. We'd love to see you there. And then we will also be bringing back our leadership training series the week of November 13th. These sessions provide training to our board members on topics like conflict of interest, the city budget, conflict resolution, de-escalation, land use, and more. So the details and registrations will be shared with board members by email in the next few days. And then finally, with COVID cases still at elevated levels, we want to remind folks to get boosted. Many pharmacies are now making appointments, and you can find a location for your booster at vaccinefinder.nyc.gov. Additionally, the federal government is mailing test kits again, and you can request them at covid.gov/tests. Thank you very much, everybody, and I hope you have a great evening.
Thank you, Bracha. Appreciate that. Appreciate you being here. I think that concludes reports from elected officials this evening. And so I now go to the adoption of the agenda. Are there any questions on the agenda that has been circulated? Thank you. Is there a second? Any objections? The agenda is adopted. Last month's minutes with thanks to our secretaries. Any questions on the minutes? No minutes, I'll take a motion. Thank you. Is there a second? Any objections on the minutes? The minutes are adopted. Thank you. Up next, I was supposed to do that before the elected official reports, but so be it. I know. It's coming to an end. Our report from our district manager, Jesse Bodine.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jesse Bodine, the District Manager, Community Board 4. Just very quickly, as we all can tell, the MCB4 hybrid meeting policy remains in effect. For members specifically, a online form was created for requests for extraordinary circumstances and/or disability accommodations. We do have a meeting set up next week for a briefing for anybody who has questions on that process. Obviously, if there's anything individually, you can always speak with me. We can create a time to speak individually. For November committee schedule, there is a special joint land use committee meeting next week on Wednesday, November 8th, to review the City of Yes Economic Opportunity Text Amendment. Business License and Permits Committee will be meeting on Tuesday, November 14th, instead of its normal date. The Cannabis Task Force will meet on Tuesday, November 21st at 6:30 at the district office. All other committees will be meeting at their regular time for November. The district office will be closed Tuesday, November 7th for Election Day, and then Friday, November 10th in observation of Veterans Day. And that is all I have to say.
Applaud for the short and sweet update. Exactly. I now want to call up Alice Wong, our chair of the nominating committee, to give her report. Alice?
Thank you, Jeffrey. My name is Alice Wong, and I had the honor this year to serve as chair of the nomination committee. I want to first of all thank all of my fellow committee members and all the candidates for taking time to meet with us last week. The committee had a set list of questions for all of our candidates, and we wanted to learn about their experience on the board and also their future plans for the board. So thank you very much, everyone, for all of the thoughtful answers. We do have one change to the nomination slate. Wendy Gonzalez will not be running for first vice chair due to personal reasons, and we wish her very well. The remaining candidates did receive majority votes, and they are Katie Strokes for co-secretary, Roberta Barnett for second vice chair, Leslie Murphy for first vice chair, and Jessica Chait for chair. At this time, I will open the floor to any nominations. Nominations are that. Okay. Oh, okay. So for the nominations, if you do have a nomination, you may make a motion. We need a second motion, and the person being nominated has to accept the nomination. So do I have any nominations? If there are nominations, you will be automatically added to the December ballot. Okay, so I'm going to go forward and explain the process for the election. At the December meeting, for those of you who are going to be in person, you will receive a paper ballot. For those of you who are going to be at the virtual meeting, you will receive an electronic ballot. Jesse and his staff are going to count and verify the election results. Lowell, did you have a question?
I have a 6 years to get a woman in charge of the board in this bad time.
Could you repeat that? Sorry, we couldn't hear it.
Carrie, Lowell said that. Okay. Any questions for me? If not, I'm going to sit back down. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. The statement carried from Laura was that it's been 6 years since a woman has been in charge of the board, and it's about time we return to that. And there was applause in the room, and I see snaps from you as well. Alice, I want to thank you for chairing the nominating committee, for stepping up as a newer member and being a part of this process. I think one of the things we've heard over the years is that it is important, and we need people to be involved and step up. And something I'm really proud of is the number of board members who are getting involved with the task force, the working groups, the committees that we are doing day in and day out. So thank you, Alice. Thank you, everybody who's been stepping up and doing more and more work. It will continue. Other time for updates from the chair. A couple of things which are exciting. I attended, along with Leslie and a couple of others, the groundbreaking for Pier 94. Now, this is 14 years in the making, and many people asked why I was smiling to attend and break ground for this. And it's because we fought like hell. We did not get everything we wanted, but at the end of the day, this is a project that's going to redevelop a piece of our waterfront that's going to bring bathrooms to Clinton Cove Park for the first time ever. And it is an aggressive 24-month construction timeline that will have improvements to the pedestrian way and the bike path by Q1 of 2025. That is just over a year from now. This is a jobs factor. There's a lot of things we should be proud about on this. And at the end of the day, we dug in hard and we didn't win everything, but this is also a great moment for Pier 94 as well. So thank you all for being a part of this, and on to the next chapter. I also want to report that Vornado, who is 49% of the project and is managing the construction, has convened construction task force meetings already. We're going to be receiving 2-week look-aheads from them, which will be getting out to the community. And I can assure you all the electeds were at that meeting will be holding their feet to the fire to make sure this gets done and delivered on time and to our expectations as well. So thank you all for the fight on that. But moving forward, it feels really good. We'll get something there at the end of the day. Thank you, Christine. It is a good moment. It's a good moment. Port Authority Bus Task Force Working Group continues to meet. There's been a lot of discussion at committees. There will eventually come a time when a lot of this information is made public. Right now, it cannot be made public. We're an agency partner on the project, so I have to be very cognizant of what is public and what is not. In the vein of the Port Authority Working Group, we've also started sort of what I will de facto call a small working group to meet with NYCHA and the development team to begin to talk through in more granular detail what is being proposed, what's being put forth, and the process by which all that information is going to be taken up. So we kicked off that first meeting just a couple of days ago. That will be convening monthly. And stay tuned to our agendas for how NYCHA and the proposals will work their way onto the committee's agendas. It's not guaranteed that they're going to be on the agenda every month because there might not be new information or more information to discuss. So stay tuned for that, both on the agendas and then reports from me as your fleeting chair, and the rest of the board. The Cannabis Task Force had its first meeting, and they will continue as well. I wanted to give another shout out. Leslie mentioned the issues that all of us are dealing with as it relates to mopeds in particular, and the poor use and enforcement of bike lanes. Recently in Community District 4, there was an education moment that was had with the deliveryistas to educate cyclists and delivery drivers about how to use or not use the bike lane. It was received so warmly. I reported on this at Borough Board, and now it is being replicated across community districts across Manhattan. So hopefully we can begin to educate more and more folks about how it is right and how to and to not use the bike lanes and be good members of the community. And finally, Jesse mentioned the City of Yes stuff. There's a lot of that coming down the pike. We have economic opportunity and then housing. We have a very short window for which we have to apply to the City of Yes for economic opportunity. It's a huge application. That's why we have that joint meeting. We did sign on to a letter calling for more time for review. I'll be honest, I don't think we're going to get it. But we signed on to that letter requesting that additional time because obviously it's a significant thing that would be pretty transformative and is important to consider. And finally, Jesse continues to attend and be a part of the New York Forward Garment District Capital Improvement Program work, which is an important thing to spend state money to improve that part of town. And then if anybody didn't see West 42nd Street today, we got good news about the former Catholic church on West 53rd Street that we've been advocating to landmark. It was the first Black Catholic church to exist north of the Mason-Dixon line. We've been told by the developer it will be a house of worship with community facility space as well as market rate housing. So it is a really great relief that that will not be torn down and actually be purposed for worship and community facility use. So hopefully more good things to come. That's it for my formal report. So we'll go on to business of the evening. Oh, sorry, I should have called for questions. Thanks, Dolores, and then Christine.
I just wanted to acknowledge on the colored school that was brought to the attention to the board by JD Nolan, who did the research on it and wrote the letters that really got us to the place of getting this to happen.
We weren't talking about the number 4 colored school, though.
Oh, sorry, I meant the church. The church. Sorry, I got confused because the colored school was. And so I wanted to acknowledge JD for that because again, doing all that research and getting that happening. Thank you, JD.
Thank you. And it's true, and we've been fighting hard with Historic Districts Council to get more landmark designation and frankly, landmark acknowledgement in Hell's Kitchen. Christine.
I have a question on the process for NYCHA. At what point is there a vote and who is voting for making it, one way or another?
Yep. So we are told that on November 15th, the scoping documents will be released, at which time we will be reviewing those and able to opine if we can. We, of course, prefer to be a part of the development of that scoping and haven't been as much a part of it as we would like to be. From there, an EIS then takes shape, and we, of course, will be a part of opining on the EIS, as you know well, how to peel apart an EIS. We'll be doing that. They are telling us that certification on the ULURP is still well over a year away. So we're very much in what we want to think of as a development discussion. We are not making any formal decisions, as I think was made very plain and appropriately plain in our letter, I think is item 1, about this process. And it's part of the reason we wanted to begin kicking off the small meetings with them to begin to glean as much information as we possibly can. I think that is really true. It's one of the reasons we pushed out our July forum that we held on Zoom. Christine's question was about the timeline and making sure more members of the public understand what's being put forth, whether or not it's certified. It is not. We are still working through all of these things, but there's process to be had that we are making sure we're a part of. If folks are going to ask a question, they need to come up to the microphone so that folks online can hear. Or let me know and I can coat drive. Come on up. Yeah, no, you do it.
All right.
It's your coat drive.
Thank you. CB4 is having our annual giveaway that we've been doing for the past few years. This year, it will be a coat drive. It's going to be Saturday, November 18th from 1 to 3 p.m. You can come and drop off new or gently used coats. It is for women, children, and men who live in shelter in the community in CB4. And then from 3 to 5, individuals who live in the shelters will come and pick up the coats. So from 1 to 3, you can come drop off the coats at Metro Baptist Church. It's at 440 West 40th Street. Okay, thank you.
And kudos to Maria for organizing this, I think 4 years in a row now. So thank you, Maria, for doing that. Mr. Lazarin?
Yeah, I just have one question on our process in terms of the redevelopment, the proposed redevelopment. Now, I understand eventually if they go ahead with it, we'll have to ULURP, zoning changes, all of that before the EIS. But will we ever in this process have a wider statement about the whole project as a project itself, as a concept?
That's what our letter actually says. That's going to come up next.
I read the letter. I didn't quite get that.
Then please add it, please.
That
When we get there.
We get there, right, that's.
Thank you. Any other questions? Joe, did you have a question? You were getting ready for item 1. Okay. So with that, we're going to go on to the business portion of the meeting and pass it over to our co-chair of Housing, Health and Human Services, Joe Estuccio. Joe?
So a couple of things. One is the question about what is the time frame? The EIS, which we've been informed informally could come available as of the draft EIS as of November 15th, is not just for the ULURP. It's for the federal approval process, which is called Section 18. That's a submission to HUD to allow a plan like this to proceed. That would happen whether it was RAD renovation or RAD new construction and demolition. So that's part of it. It's 2 separate processes. And in the board's meeting with NYCHA just this week, we definitely questioned why they would proceed on, quote, the as of right portion, which is 2 buildings, as opposed to waiting for the ULURP and the whole full plan to be worked out. So that's an issue we've raised. We're going to be writing a series of letters to NYCHA and also informational letters. That's one of the things we're doing going forward. So we can get administrative answers on things.
And I would just add, we have received a lot of answers from NYCHA, and those have all been circulated. So do keep your eye out. They're all on our website as well, because we put out a slew of questions already. So,
and we intend this month not only to have passed this letter and talk about it tonight, but do another administrative letter to get more information back. And when we get that information back to all of our members, that's going to be posted on the website for the public to look at too, because it's really helping get the information out there entirely.
On the letter, Mr. Estuccio.
Yes. So our letter is specifically came out of our meeting on the housing committee meeting on 10/5, and that we decided only to talk about tenant rights. And the issue of tenant rights is important because a package of rights was agreed to as part of the Chelsea working group that was detailed and specific, and it took the current rights people have today under Section 9 public housing and ensured that those rights in a Section 8 conversion, which is called RAD, rental assistance demonstration, would travel, but then we enhance them. So the community and the working group, these are enhanced rights over and above Section 9. So when there's a conversion to Section 8, whether it's renovation or new construction or a combination of both, the rights travel, but the enhanced rights travel. This letter you see breaks down into sections, and that is taken directly from the working group report, which in turn was put into the RFP for this proposal. And in return was put into will be part any kind of documents. We met with NYCHA, they made a presentation at this meeting, and in fact, they said they would affirm in writing that all those rights that were negotiated as part of the working group would be part of any project going forward. So we are writing a formal letter to them saying, please affirm that the things we negotiated before will be part of any proposal. They said in person they would write that letter back to us. We'll be doing this formally. I would note that Laura made a note that on line 31, we say we take no position at this time. We're going to put that in bold, so it's very clear to everybody. I got a bunch of sort of general notes from folks. We're incorporating those to happen afterward. I got those in the last couple of days. And then at this meeting, besides NYCHA, we heard from Legal Aid Society, Lucy Newman, who was a member of the working group and actually was the co-chair, along with Robert Atterbury from then Congressman Nadler's office, of the Tenant Rights Subcommittee. She did not endorse, of course, this proposal, but she gave us clarification on certain things. And the most specific important thing we learned, if there was any demolition, the rights that were agreed to would have to be managed legally differently, because the rights you have flow from the apartment you're in. And if you're relocated from apartment A to apartment B, via relocation agreement, those rights can travel. But if apartment A is being demolished, the rights get severed. So we learned this legally. That's one of the things she brought to us. We brought this to NYCHA on how this can be managed going forward. Other than that, I will take questions. I think the letters.
Are there any questions on the letter? I'll go around the room, folks. I haven't done this in a while. Bert and then Josephine. Yes, yeah. Folks can queue up. Actually, that'll be a lot easier.
No, I think you need the other one. I gotta stay. I gotta stay here to answer. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I read the letter. I'm saying I'm a tenant currently in Elliott houses, okay? I would be reading the letter. And I would like to see, I mean, you know much more than I do, Joe, or I assume, I know you do.
I'm trying.
No, I know you do. All the details, all the ins and outs. I know the difference between section 9, section 8, okay? But there's no, at least I didn't read a line in there that says you are guaranteed an apartment in the new development. Just a simple English sentence like that. There's all the other stuff, and I'm sure it's there, incorporated into everything else, but just one sentence above all, that if someone were to read it, oh yeah, not that it would necessarily convince somebody, but at least we have it down there.
I think we have to put that as a request to NYCHA, because the tenant rights that were put in the plan for the working group did not anticipate demolition and relocation. So we have to put that in there as a specific thing. Yes, got it.
But it needs to be there someplace.
Thank you very much, Josephine.
Hi, so I have a question in section 3 about tenant placement and selection. Provide temporary relocation agreement.
Can we go line for a second?
Yes, it is 3.3, provide temporary relocation agreement under section 3.
Yes.
Okay.
97. Thank you.
So I'm trying to figure out what exactly does that mean? I mean, specifically, when tenants are relocated, are they being relocated to other public housing, which at the same rate that they're paying now, or are they on their own to find market rate and then come back in 6 years, which we know that's not going to happen?
So this section, all these sections here have a lot of detail under them in the Chelsea Nitro Working Group report that has much more information about that. However, this was only anticipated to be relocation, this particular document, relocation during construction. And the underneath those lines will say that relocated at the developer's expense and cost to another location in the development. That's what it said. That's why this issue of the demolition and relocation somewhere else, or even in the neighborhood, has to be fleshed out. And that's what the Legal Aid Society brought to our attention. It is not, this just speaks to, I was in 419, West 17th Street, and I'm going to go up the block for temporary relocation while my apartment's being renovated. It was not addressed in full. That's one of our issues we're raising. So
It's scary. That's all I'm going to say. Very scary.
100%, and we've heard the terror and fear
Right.
from tenants that are totally out of their minds because nothing is clear about this. And by the way, it can be clear and it will remain clear, but we have to document it to get it to be clear. That's the main thing.
Inga?
I have been approached by a few residents and there's nothing mentioned about their parking situation. A lot of them have cars. Is that going to continue even if they're just relocated? What happens to the parking when they come back? So 2 parts, parking when they've been relocated and parking at the same, whatever they're getting now, they get then. That's part of their package.
Having done this for 10 years also, Inga, we put that in the Chelsea Nitro Working Group report that the parking that was there, the permanent spaces would be retained at affordable rates. We put that in there. It's not part of this tenant rights.
Right.
Yes.
So, yeah. So even if they're relocated, where do they put their cars?
Again, the working group report did not anticipate relocation.
Okay.
Further.
So that'll be worked out.
Right, yeah. Unless it's to be, we should ask
Discussed.
about it. Right.
Right. And so when they come back, they'll have the parking at the same rate they're paying now.
That's what we put in the agreement originally.
Okay, because a lot of them are worried about that. No one's really mentioning that. Thank you.
Oh.
Joe, just really quickly, since we've had a couple of questions and comments now that were not addressed in the report, maybe you had a paragraph at the end that says
that the original report did not contemplate the relocation, renovate, it didn't contemplate demolition. And therefore, there are questions raised about when there's demolition, what happened, right?
Yeah, you got it. Just say a paragraph at the end about that. Thanks, Lauren. Oh, wait, Jessica is going to piggyback on that question, if that's okay. Jessica?
Closely related. I agree with Lowell's point, but I actually don't think it should be at the end. I think that this issue of demolition and that these tenant rights needs to be higher up. So same paragraph, just earlier.
So sort of saying that the underlying initial plan was not demolition, and there are a number of issues raised when it is.
Exactly. And that there's going to need to be I mean, maybe this isn't in the letter, but I think for discussion, there's going to need to be a process, and NYCHA is going to need to commit to that process for affirming these rights within demolition.
Right.
And a process for determining what that looks like.
And I think it's important that we have plant that flag saying that this was never anticipated, and a bunch of questions that flow from it.
Exactly.
Right?
And I think that just needs to be higher up.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
It was just some suggestions.
If you have questions, please queue in the line. I'm going to go to Maria, Christine, and then we're going to do 2 folks online. But if you have questions, you can queue at the mic. Sorry, Maria, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Jessica and I had spoken about this. I spoke with Joe about it also, just moving some paragraphs around. If you saw the letter, if you read it, the first paragraph talks about full board. I wanted to move that second into the top, the committee meeting. Make that the first paragraph. The top of the third paragraph, I wanted to make it, there's a sentence that says in the middle of it, MCB4 takes no position at this time. And I think that needs to be the top of the paragraph, the third paragraph. And that was it.
Thanks, Maria. Christine?
Yes. So in the same stream, I was going to suggest to take the paragraph on the Legal Aid Society and move it up. And essentially say, there are major issues related, the point you were making, there are major issues related to demolition. One of them was flushed out here, but there are others, and you can ask a bunch of questions. What happened this, what happened that, what happened that? And then that's the beginning of the letter, because that's what everybody is looking for.
Nodding with them. Let's go to Marty and then Mike. Marty?
Thank you very much. I read this letter, and I think the work that's been done on it is fabulous, amazing. I need to preface what I want to say with that. I am in no way trying to rewrite the letter, but I do have a couple of comments. I have 3 comments, actually. I miss the possibility that demolition will occur before the ULUP. That was talked about the other day. Is there some way that we can put in this letter our concern that part of this project will start before the ULUP occurs? Does that make sense?
I think we should note it because it has been told to us that is the plan today.
That they plan to do demolition before the ULUP.
That's correct.
I think we should be taking a stand against that. I hope we do.
I actually quoted you, Marty, as a member who was quite incensed about that in our meeting with NYCHA this week.
Thank you, Joe.
I'm with you. I think it makes sense.
You make me proud, sir. As some of the comments have been made moments ago, bullets are cryptic, and there's a lot behind them. As this letter evolves, I doubt this is the first one. I think the writers of the next version are going to have to not just do cryptic bullets, but it's going to make it a longer letter, I understand.
Marty, for information, we footnoted that, and the link takes you to the full report that gives you the detail. I think we'll figure out a way.
I get that.
We'll find out.
I get that. One final comment, Joe, if I may. Line 123 says in any demolition scenario, partial or full, the tenant's right to return must be enforceable and ironclad. That's the sentence that we were looking for before. And it's a great sentence. Unfortunately, that sentence is weakened by the sentences that follow. I think that sentence should stand by itself, and the sentence that follows it that says if a tenant has a right, etc., that weakens that statement.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marty. Mike?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, just to get to this point about how many people are being displaced, maybe a footnote somewhere because a lot of people are concerned about it. And Joe, I don't know if you know the current actual number of the people who are going to be temporarily on hold, as opposed to the 2,500 units that we're talking about overall. Everybody's going to essentially be going from their current apartment to the new apartment. And I think it's only 100 and something people that are going to have to go to temporary lodging for 3 years, right, Joe?
Well, I don't think we have, I can tell you again, we've asked for the full detail on this, and we've gotten as a concept so far, as opposed to the detail building by building. One of our communications happening this next week, we'll be asking for stats on the apartment sizes, what's occupied, what's vacant. We don't have the full information, but I'm assuming as we proceed through, Mike, we're going to get it. And I think the fear here is that it's been expressed by in many meetings, is that if you maybe relocate it possibly off-site. No one knows about that, but it's been talked about. Related has asked to use inclusionary apartments in their buildings in Chelsea for relocation resource. So that's an issue. That's something we have to find out how that would work, or even if it should work. So it's that kind of thing. Until we have more details, it's hard to say it's just this or that.
I do.
Right. No, I understand.
By 9. Sorry, Mike.
No, I say I'm aware of that, Joe. Yeah, and it changes. First, it goes from 250 people are going to be displaced, then it's 111 people or something like that. So it varies depending on how the timeline's going to work on the demolition.
We don't know it yet. And I think one of the problems is
no, that's what I'm saying. But nevertheless, we're not talking about everybody getting displaced for a while. It's only a percentage. So it's going to happen, right?
Yeah, Mike, I think unless there's a specific request for a tweak, we're gonna move on just because we're on a timeline too, but we're happy to chat about this further offline.
All right. Yeah.
And then Chris?
Thanks.
And those are the final questions, by the way. Thank you.
So I totally support all the questions that have been asked this evening, the suggested changes, which is great. I think it's super important. We know what's happening during demolition. All awesome. And I would just raise, if you can take a look at line 92 and line 94. In line 92, it's under a list of legal protections and it's all great stuff. And then all of a sudden, line 92 says owner's inability to provide services. I don't know if that means,
right. So
I think that's really important that we just flush it out because it looks like we're letting the owners up it looks odd.
It's the opposite. It's actually the opposite, that you can't rely upon the owner's inability to provide services to say that's okay. That's the rest of the text that is in the report.
So if we can just add some words, I think it would reassure people. And then line 94 says guarantee seniors can choose between a studio or a 1-bedroom should there be a change in the development. I just want to make sure that if there are seniors who actually have a 2-bedroom and they have family or aides living with them, that they're not being forced to downsize. That's all.
So I think we have to be very careful. The policy of rights.
I think you take that position because in the HUD regulations for any sort of conversion, even if it's just a renovation, you must match your family size to your apartment size to your household size. And that is taken into account if someone who is ill and has, but it's family, it's about family size. No, but if you have a home attendant, right? Most of the senior units are in 1-bedrooms in the senior building. There are many seniors in a larger apartment who will be required to go to a smaller apartment. And at that point, your household size gets taken into account. So if you are infirm and you have a full-time home attendant, that would count into the discussion. If family members living with you, then it's part of your household.
Just a question about the CC at the end of the letter. Is there any reason why the regional head of HUD is not CC'd on there?
We have not done the CCs at all.
Okay, will you consider that?
There will be many CCs.
Yeah, just because I know
be a page of CCs on this letter.
Yeah, because it said elected officials on there, and that's an appointed official. Thank you.
Real quick, Jeffrey.
Go ahead.
We've heard a lot about current conditions, and while we're waiting through this process, what is their plan? Maybe we should put a note in here that they need to be addressed.
So at our meeting tomorrow night, HHHS, we're doing an administrative letter that specifically is requesting the current plan for the interim repairs, what is being done, what is being covered, not covered, and security. Just asking NYCHA to report back to us.
Can you please also ask why NYCHA has not signed that contract since they've been waiting on that signature for about a year now?
We actually asked that question and we'll ask that again in writing.
Thank you. No more final questions for Joe. I'm cutting that one off. Thank you, Joe, and HHHS for this letter and everybody's comments this evening. Up next to Frank and Bert for reports on BLP.
Hi, everyone. Firstly, item number 14.
Further away. It's good, Mike. It's a very good Mike.
Item 14, that good distance. Item 14, we want to send it back to committee, so no one has to vote on it now. So it's not there. Delete. And all those are straightforward. I just want to bring up the point that item number 2, residential about 458 and 9th Avenue, the Wrecking Club has 11 stipulations. And I think that might be a record, the number of stipulations. I think since we have not too much time, I'm looking at which I intended to do. It's printed out very clearly 11 stipulations on item number 2. Any questions?
Any questions?
Sorry, Bert, we can't hear you. Sorry. We can't hear you when you're really, I guess, close to the mic, because when you step back, you were very clear. Could you just say that last bit again? Thank you.
The last bit, I said, if there are any questions?
The bit right before that.
Your attending is absolutely outstanding this evening. We thank you for that.
We should go on the road with that, Kerry.
Any questions for the BLP letters, noting that item, let's see, what is it? 14 is going back to committee.
Sorry, you said something about letter 2. I just wanted to make sure there's no change to letter 2.
Letter 2, the Wrecking Club, there are 11 stipulations with that, which is probably a record for any kind of letter from BLP. And
okay,
you could read the stipulations that are out there.
I was there, but thank you. Okay.
You can. Josephine. Up next, with Josephine from ACES.
Hello. In the interest of time, I won't go over the letter. If anybody has any questions, it's just about Hudson Guild and their employment assistance program.
Any questions for Josephine?
Great.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm going to threaten like 7:30 next time. That's also true. You can come to the microphone. Up next, transportation planning, Christine and Jesse. To the mic. We just did that. Yep, that was the one. Follow Josephine's model. It was outstanding.
Yeah, so you have 2 letters which are self-explanatory, 1, 2, and I'm glad to report that the revocable consent for construction of a Hudson Tunnel, they have pretty much agreed to our stipulation, and they are going to include in the contract of the workers, I mean, the contractor, the subcontractor, a list of things we want. So I'm really pleased with that. And we should all be. Yeah.
Any questions for transportation? Lowell? I'll repeat it once.
Yes, they are working with them right now. So I raised that. So I'll add that in the letter.
For the folks online, Lowell wanted to make sure that there was comment about making sure that the Hudson Tunnel project works with Hudson River Park Trust to restore the park after construction, and that has been agreed to as a friendly amendment addition. Finally, gosh, there's other business. I'm confused why exec was right here. Executive committee statement.
May I ask a question?
If you want to go over or come here.
Before you move on,
questions on state or district needs.
Before you move on, may I ask a question about letter 17?
Sure, Marty.
On page 2, line 63, there is a comment that the bike lane, the curbside will be used for another function. I've said this before to you as a group. I'm concerned that our community board is eating up the parking lanes for too many different items, and that I urge much more caution than just to blithely use parking lanes for whatever items that come up, as we do at that place on this letter.
Thanks, Marty. Leslie, you sat down too soon. Any questions on the state and the district needs, budget task force work, et cetera, from members of the board right now?
Might not be any questions, so. I mean, you can add, but you did your presentation.
Hold on.
There you go.
I just want to thank, because doing this 2 years in a row, it is a rough job. You know this. Jessica knows this. It's great, but I just want to say thank you to Jesse, because Jesse runs this show. I'm telling you. And without Jesse, the statement of district needs would not get out. So if there are no questions, I will sit down and thank you for the 2 years of doing this, and that's it.
I want to make a comment, if I may.
Yes, Marty.
I'm sorry. This is the last comment I'll make. I'll shut up for the rest of the meeting. All right.
I want that in writing.
I'm seriously impressed with the work that has gone into this. And so I only focused on the e-bike section. Maybe you've already told me that the concern about fire of these batteries isn't in it because we haven't talked about it in committees, but I sure would like us to bring up either now or at some point the concern that e-bikes need to be licensed and their batteries need to be the regulated ones to help avoid the fires that we've been seeing through the city. Thank you.
All right, I will defer to transportation.
So first of all, it's in our letters.
Hold the mic. Christine, just back a little bit from the mic.
It's in our last letter, so it's not in the budget because it's a legal and a law that we're asking for. And as far as the regulation of the batteries for safety, the city council has already introduced and passed some laws on that. So we don't have to do that because it's already done.
Thank you.
I just thought that we should be expressing our concern and to support whatever the city council is doing. So that it's already done isn't all that satisfying.
It's already passed. Right. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Leslie. This will get transmitted and hopefully we get what we want, but there'll be another bite that we get to take at the budget once the mayor's preliminary budget is released as well. Up next, a first report from the Cannabis Task Force on the 4 letters they're reporting out this evening.
Brevity, do not. What? No summarizing.
I'm not summarizing. Hi, everybody. I have strict instructions not to summarize, and I'm not going to do that, but I did want to first thank my fellow members of the Cannabis Task Force, since we are a new task force. I'm not doing this alone. Dolores, Rodney, Wendy, Raul, Sanford, thank you all so much. Everyone's put in a lot of work to get this done. I just want to quickly say that at our next meeting, we will be bringing up enforcement again. It is still a priority of this board and of this task force, and the letters that we've written are in that context, and we understand that. The overview of the letters, not to summarize, no whatsoever. Does anyone have any? Wait, I just need to say some friendly amendments that I did already accept. Thank you. Okay. So some friendly amendments are one that I'm inputting, which is on the West 45th Street letter. We added a stipulation that I forgot to include, which requires them to have a security guard out front at all times of operation to make sure that there's no loitering outside. It's a particularly busy block. Friendly amendments that I've accepted in the hallways here are to the last paragraph of all of our letters, which talk about our what we recognize the legal dispensaries can bring to our neighborhood versus the illegal ones. We're going to change that language to be a little bit more aspirational about what we hope they bring, and we're going to recognize that what we hope they bring will be in the hopefully with new legal dispensaries and more enforcement together, we will drive out the illegal dispensaries, create jobs, and I'm going to also add, bring in an important tax base to our district. So that is the friendly amendment to the last paragraph of all the letters, and now accepting questions.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. So items 19 and 20, we'll start with 19. The stipulations, I saw that they did not include outreach to local school administration. You have the High School for Environmental Studies and Independence High School right around the corner from 56th Street. Would you include that as a bullet as well?
Yep.
And then logic for all letters, BLP, I'll put some teeth in when we say deny unless. Would you include deny unless on the top of those bullets?
Thank you for bringing that up. That is something else I wanted to bring up. So I just wanted to express, this is not a hill I'm about to die on, but I did want to express that the reason that I did not go with the BLP standard of deny unless is I did not want the first message to come out of our board to be universally that we are against legal dispensaries in our neighborhood. That being said, I understand that this board can handle some nuance, and I hope the public can. And so I would accept that as a friendly amendment if that is the wish of this board. But if people feel strongly the other way, there is no precedent for how the Office of Cannabis Management reviews these applications. It is all new. Just because we approve contingent on certain stipulations or deny unless certain stipulations, there is no precedent one way or the other. I'm happy to hear thoughts, but it was my reasoning behind why we've written it the way we have. I was concerned about the messaging coming out of our board.
And then finally, for the last paragraph, I appreciate that you included friendly amendments that were added by JD and Joe, but I think there needs to be an emphasis that the gray stores cause a economic harm to the card license applicants for the health and longevity of their business, and that we strongly urge that while we receive these applications and consider them, that the state continue to do what's necessary to close down as many gray stores as possible and ensure that these car licensees are viable long term.
No. So I agree with the premise of that. I think that where I started is I would like to take that up as a separate issue at our very next meeting. It's time we write another letter on enforcement because we are already hearing from our one licensed cannabis grower showcase in our district that they're getting absolutely killed by the illegal dispensaries on their block. They have already proposed a draft letter that we may be discussing. And on top of, we'll definitely be discussing the proposal from Keith Powers coming out tomorrow about padlocking these stores. So it definitely will be taken up, and I just think it belongs in a separate letter. I'd like these letters to be specifically about.
Just as an opportunity to say that we do support them and we want them to be healthy.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. JD?
Thank you for accepting the amendment. Could I add one more tweak here? And that's line 13. And that the proposed location, this is item 19. I'm not sure what cross street it is. All right, well, that's pretty important. Okay, that this proposed location is not incompatible with the immediate surrounding neighborhood. The granting of this applicant's full dispensary license would not negatively impact the community. How do we know that? This is across from Ballsy Park. Ballsy Park has a lot of drug use. So why are we saying that it's not going to be a problem when the applicant has not met, as far as I know, with the local block association and have not, or the PTA or whatever? So can we tweak that?
What is your proposed tweak language?
I propose turning it over to the wordsmiths on your task force to make it more aspirational. In other words, we don't know any of this yet. So let's not say it's going to be great.
I accept that. I would accept that just because it is all new, and I imagine we will never know the future. So to state declaratively that we know is probably not accurate. So absolutely, I accept that as friendly. Thank you, Joe.
First of all, Jesse, thank you for running this task force. It's going to only get worse. Thank you for doing it. And I want to say that, first of all, I support legal cannabis shops. It's not even a question on that. It's the illegal ones that are causing our problems. I would note, just administratively, we have questionnaires attached that are incorrect. And going forward, if the applicant submits a questionnaire saying I'm within 200 feet of a school and they're not. So as a reader, I got confused with that as to why we're approving ones. Some of the questionnaires actually say, I'm close to a house of worship.
No, it's the languages. It's you use a sign saying I'm not close to these things.
Whatever it is, you have to fix that because I read it.
I see. So it's just that poorly written. I will easily fix that. No problem.
I'm saying going forward.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that.
And the second thing is the deny unless I want to recommend strongly. SLA never had any stipulations. And we are the board that put that in our letters over and over. And eventually the SLA adopted statewide the idea of stipulations. So saying it up front is the good thing to do because it gets us in the position we should have stipulations just like a liquor license on a cannabis license.
All right, thank you for those comments. I would also just say that we are certainly not almost. My understanding is that the majority of the community boards in Manhattan are also doing stipulations with their applications. And I'm not, I would think I don't know if we have to turn it over to a vote on that particular item because I think I do disagree. Again, not a hill I want to die on, but I think maybe we should take a vote on it. I just one other thing I forgot to mention, which is please don't think that we're willy-nilly just granting, approving these dispensary applicants. We heard from 6 applicants on 2 weeks ago, and we only approved 4. We told 2 that their application questionnaire was woefully insufficient in terms of information, and they seemed inadequately prepared. And we told them to come back. So please know we are looking at these carefully.
Final question from Josephine.
I'm going back to the issue of schools. Is there any way that you could put standard language in there when you reach out to the neighborhoods, like the block associations, that you also reach out to school leadership in the PTAs? I don't know what the distance is, the requirement is, but just to keep it in the language as they're always thinking about schools.
Yeah, thank you. So it's definitely in the questionnaire that they're not within 500 feet on the same road as a school, but I would absolutely happily put that in the language. And we probably need to tweak that. The reach out language regardless. So it's helpful input. Thank you.
Christine.
Yes, so for those you have not approved, should you write a letter? Should we write a letter so that they don't go directly to the?
No, they cannot. We got them to agree in the meeting that they cannot go to the OCM without coming back to us. So
okay,
they postponed because they need our
Okay. I know it's going to get hard, but hopefully not worse. These are going to be kind of like liquor stores, not necessarily more than that.
Sorry, I have a question. That's okay. Because I'm not quite sure how to vote, because I really also agree with Joe and Chris about deny unless. And some of my concerns about the applications are that, these folks will get in touch with their block associations and neighbors, but they maybe haven't yet. So I feel like that it just makes it a must instead of a might. So it really affects kind of how I would vote. So I just want to be clear on whether that you're accepting that amendment, Jesse, or not. And thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
To address that, one of the things that we realize is that the way the state process happened, it was like, bam, go. And they did, all of these applicants really didn't know how to navigate that outreach. What they were getting from us in that meeting was, we will help you find out who to reach out to. And every single one of them, even the ones we said come back, wanted to know, who do we go to? Who do we speak with? How do we cooperate with the community? And there was an acknowledgement that they need to be partners. And so I think I understand the concern about the deny unless. And personally, from my point of view, I actually voted no on one application, so we were not unanimous. But I think the thoughtfulness around this process is that we're saying we're going to be community partners in the way this board normally does. We're going to help you figure out how to make this right, because we know what's already here is not working, and that requires a lot more effort across a lot of different agencies to get rid of the illegal ones. Yeah. And if we don't actually get it right for the legal ones, we're going to be stuck with a lot of. really bad product and risk to our young kids, et cetera.
Totally understand.
And-
Yes, I
and
just
I'm
want
not-
to
Yep, go ahead.
ask you, Dolores, sorry, I know it's like cross-talking, but when you say that, are you saying that they didn't have time to actually, like, they don't know what to do and therefore we should approve these before they've had the chance to do that? So I guess that's my question.
So this process, because of the way that OCM really messed up the rollout of this, and I mean, again, for the fifth time, I'm saying that now. But in this particular, they really did not have an opportunity to, like, there was just not time to do the outreach. We are requiring it going forward before they come to us, as would be the standard process. But now, yeah, go ahead, Jesse.
Just for clarity's sake, all of the folks that all the letters here have already received the block association lists. They're sending out the emails. You should, if you're part of a block association or a group or a larger umbrella group, you will be hearing from them. We've told them this directly, just like we do with SLA. So that is happening now with these ones. We will be doing it more proactively going forward, just to be clear.
So just a couple of things. We're gonna end up calling a virtual because we have to leave. Leslie, do you have a new question?
Yeah, I'm curious. So shouldn't we hear from these block associations and these community stakeholders before we vote on this stuff?
We can't, okay.
I'm just.
No, so just be clear, right, that meeting was duly noticed. The applicants posted on their locations, on the street corners. The office contacted all of them, sent an email to every block association that the meeting was happening. We had block association.
This meeting.
Yes.
No, I'm talking about the task force.
Task force meeting, yeah.
I'm talking about the task force meeting. We had members of the West 55th Street Block Association there. We had members from other block associations there. So I will be clear. We the meeting without doing a significant amount of outreach beforehand.
Yeah. So sorry for confusing that for everyone. It was just simply that this is the only time that we'll have to add in the stipulations that they do their own additional outreach, because normally we will be requiring it before they come to us. That is all. Okay. Sorry. Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you. So no more questions. Excuse me, my chorus this evening. I need to take a straw poll on the risk factor. Actually speak against it to begin with, since a lot of folks spoke in favor of it. As was mentioned by almost every speaker this evening.
Sorry, Jeffrey, could you pull the mic away a little?
All right, here, come talk to me.
We couldn't hear any of that.
Yep, sorry. We'll take a straw poll on the deny unless, but I want to say first that given that this is all new, and that theoretically, the legal shops are going to undermine, and hopefully a whole bunch of other things are going to close the legal shops, the illegal dispensaries. We want to establish a relationship with new operators that is framed in a positive light. Legal business is good in the community, as provided they're following the rules, they're engaging their community, they're working with the community board. So I would ask us to pause on this first round of letters with the deny unless versus what we have prescribed already, because we're dealing with something a whole lot worse day in and day out, and frankly, we're seeing it snowball. I can speak to this personally from my part of Hell's Kitchen, and also, south of Chelsea, even. So happy to take the straw poll, but I do want to make that comment prior to taking that. Frank,
I don't want to prolong this, but I do think the deny unless is a little counterintuitive to people who are not used to our process, because it does sound like we're saying no. So I agree with these guys, and maybe we can say something like approve only if the following are conditions. In other words, make it very clear that we're saying yes, but that all those things have to be conditions.
Thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
I would accept as a friendly amendment to improve the language around conditions if it avoids a long fight on this. Great.
Paul.
Just very quickly, Landmarks Preservation Commission. The Landmarks Preservation Commission does accept approve with conditions as phrasing. So I'm supporting more positive language.
So
I have a question.
that would be great, Maria. But Christine,
I just have a question. So have we talked to the OCM people and understand what is their protocol, and are they going to honor one thing or another?
Yeah, they don't, their protocol is still, yeah, because they have to rechange it because the card program is over, so it's a whole new thing and who knows?
Right.
Is the answer,
Okay.
but it will be a part of our conversations going forward because I would like to be able to tailor our letters to their process.
Whatever they do,
Yes,
right.
and it's a good point, thank you.
I move we approve conditions for these first four, and then have a discussion in the committee about how to deal with them forward.
Let's just take the first part of your motion.
No.
No.
I made the motion, Jeff.
Is there a second?
Second. What's?
Questions on the motion? So the motion is two parts.
Yeah, the
Motion
question is,
to
we
change
can't hear
language
it.
to approve with
Sorry.
conditions and require the committee to take up how it will be addressed going forward in letters as it relates to shops. Carrie, was there a question on the motion?
Yes, sorry, Jeffrey. We just, I'll speak for myself. I couldn't hear the motion and then I think I spoke.
That's because
over
it wasn't made
when-
through a microphone. The
Yeah,
motion
so-
was to support language on this crop of letters to approve with conditions, and that the task force will then talk about how we will frame our letters, approve with conditions, deny unless, support unconditionally, or not, at their next meeting. And so that's the motion. It's been seconded. Is there any other questions? So, all in favor of the motion, please raise your hand in the room. I don't think we need to count. Looks real good. Online, I see hands up. Any objections? Excellent. That carries. Okay.
Good?
Yes, you are. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. That's what happens when these new things just crop up in front of us. Okay, we have a series of new business items coming out from WPE. So Leslie, Marty?
You just
Yeah.
call them out.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I got it. These are new business only because we could not hit quorum, just so you guys know, at our committee meeting. First, there's 3 letters. First one is comment on the renegotiation of the cruise ship companies in the EDC, which is really a step closer to shore power. There were friendly amendments on wording on this, which were accepted. Second, there is a letter of support calling on the governor to form a task force to examine the west side along the river in a holistic way as we move towards coastal resiliency. And the third is a letter to the mayor insisting he keeps his campaign promise of allocating 1% of the city budget to parks.
Any questions for WPE? Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Marty. Final bit of new business is coming out of Housing, Health and Human Services about some new health equipment at the Ryan Center. Joe?
Yes, and just one more for everybody. Maria's name, she's conflicted out, cannot appear in this letter. That was an error on my part. Any questions?
This is a specific ask that's also made its way into our district statement of district needs as well. Excellent. Thank you, Joe. There's no other new business this evening that came up at the beginning of the agenda. Oh, so it is now time to call the roll for the vote. Our secretaries are going to do that, but just a reminder, Jesse did circulate a link to vote. So whether you're in the room or online, you need to fill out a piece of paper. We still do paper or that link. Trying to do both, right? Jesse, you don't want both? Just make sure you vote and get that information in. So, Katie.
Okay, here we go. Ted.
Yes.
Okay, and actually, just to clarify, my understanding is the only letter that has been sent back to committee is letter 14. So everything else is, all the other letters are what we're talking about right now.
Do you need to repeat the vote so that we hear it? Which vote?
Sure, you just stop right here.
Two great questions. We're just going to assume that 14 is referred back to committee. You don't have to state that in your summary. And then, Madam Secretary, if you would repeat what the individual says into the microphone so that it can be recorded as it relates to.
Gotcha. Thank you. Okay, Ted said yes to all. Manha. Roberta. Yes to all. Leslie. 2021 and 22, you said you abstain on? No to 19, yes to the rest. Okay, Christine.
Yes to all.
Yes to all. Gwen. Wasn't? Yes to all. Viren. Not here. Wilson. Not here. Jessica. Yes to all. Lisa David. Marty.
No to 17, yes to the rest.
Notice 17, yes to the rest. Paul? Yes to all. Tina? Tina D? Oh, sorry, Tina D. I don't see you. Oh, sorry, you're not there. Okay, Pete Diaz. Yes to all, thank you. Tina Nelson? Yes to all. Wendy Gonzalez? Not here. Matt Green? Yes to all. Jesse?
Present not eligible on 1 and yes to the rest.
Present not eligible on 1, yes to the rest. Candace? Yes to all. David Haluka? Yes to all. Frank?
Yes, to all.
Yes to all. Josephine? Abstain on 1, yes to the rest. Inga? Oh, I need water. Sorry, Inga, you said what? No to 17. Okay. Sorry. Swallowed some dust. Okay, you said no to 17 and 22, yes to the rest. Carrie? Carrie?
Yes to all. Yes to all.
Thank you. Lowell? Yes to all. Paul, I'm sorry, Raul? Not here. Bert?
Yes to all.
Yes to all. Chris, LeBron?
Abstain on 1, no on 19, abstain on 20, abstain on 21, abstain on 22, yes to the rest.
Got it. So you said no on 19, you're abstaining. Thank you. 1, 20, 21, and 22, yes to the rest.
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Betty?
Yes to all.
Yes to all. Sanford?
Yeah.
We did. Oh, sorry, Rachel. I did indeed. Rachel? Peony on 23, yes to the rest. Sanford?
Yeah.
Yes to all. Greg? Present not eligible on 15 and 25, yes to the rest. Yeah. Didn't Betty say yes to all? Yeah, okay, sorry. Mike Noble?
Yes to all and submitted.
Thank you, Mike. Yay, you. JD? Yes to all. Maria? P&E on 26, you said? Great, thank you, and yes to the rest. Alan? I'm sorry, what, Alan? Yes to all. Brad? Yes to all. Joe? Yes to all. Dolores?
Yes to all.
Yes to all. Me, yes to all. Charles?
Yes to all.
Yes to all. Hector?
Person not eligible number 1, no to 17, yes to rest.
Peony on 1, no to 17, yes to the rest. David Warren? Not here. Rodney?
Staying on 1, yes to all.
Abstain on 1, yes to the rest. Oh, wait, hold on. Put you in the wrong box. Okay, Alice? 19 through 22, you abstain on, yes to the rest. And Jeffrey?
I am P&E on 4 and 8, and yes to the rest.
Your P&E on 4 and 8, yes to the rest. Is there anybody here that I missed?
Well, no, I have a question. Folks are claiming P&E on 1, and I'm wondering if I should have done the same. I don't know what the reasoning for Hector is. or anybody else, but
I think, Mike, it's a personal decision, frankly. I think if you feel conflicted by the letter, you should vote P&E. From both an involvement or ethics standpoint, I would always recommend erring on the side of caution.
well, it's a fairly innocuous letter, so I'm gonna let it go.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
He's gonna let it go. Okay, thank you, everybody. Stay tuned, one more second, Dolores. We are figuring out our location for December. I also forgot to thank Jessica for stepping up last month when I was out of town on a work conference, so thank you for that. And thank you for everybody's patience for all the things. And now I will take the motion to adjourn. Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay.